Stop dodging. Well, I can't make everyone stop dodging, but I can give you some insights to some of the maps that maybe you're not so confident at playing. Something a little bit different on this channel. I like to play a lot of different maps on the rank ladder, and every now and then we come up with some maps that people don't like to play. A lot of people don't like to play hybrid maps or water maps or closed maps or open maps or whatever it is. Everyone's got their little preference, and my preference tends to be hybrid maps, and we've got one in the rank ladder right now, that being Paradise Island. So I'm going to give you a little overview as to what to expect on this map from my humble 1500-ish ELO perspective. At the time of recording, I've played about 15 games on the map and won about 70% of them. So whilst my opinion is definitely not that of a pro's, maybe I can give you a little bit of a rundown so that when you get a match on this map, you are not completely uncertain with what to do. So what have we got? We're going to start with just the map qualities, the basic map qualities. So we have a hybrid map. We have a ring of water around the outside. We also have a little ring of water on the inside, and we'll get to what this means later on. But the important part is you've got a standard 3 villages and a scout start. What you need to know, you'll get your 4 starting sheep. You will not get any other bonus sheep. Your only other source of herdables or hunt are 3 boars. So your starting sheep, which could be cows or water buffalo, could be 3 of those instead of 4 sheep. And then, 3 large hunt, which could be boars, they could be elephants, they could be rhinos. So that will determine the total amount of food. You then get 3 berry bushes, which you can go access. 2 of them will be quite close, the third one a little bit further away. And then as far as gold and stone, you'll get a pretty big 7 tile patch of gold and 5 tile patch of stone, and those will be pretty much under your town center. You can get spawns that are very, very close indeed. So be aware, you have got different starting res to what you normally see, and you need to find your 3 boars pretty quickly. Now, your starting locations are pretty close when you consider all things, and because there's no deer to lure, the sides of the maps have got some monkeys, but those are not, you can't interact with those. Because there's no deer to lure, and you do have 3 boars, and you don't even have extra sheep, highly recommended in the early game to find your front boar and bring that in as quickly as you can, because your opponent will be out on the map scouting. And for example, if you take this boar first, your opponent finds this one on the front, it's really not that much of a trek to bring that back. So highly, highly recommended. Bring in that front boar really, really quickly. Now, as far as a build goes, you'll be doing a standard hybrid build. That is the most recommended thing on this map. And as a general rule for that, what you want to do is have 6 on food, 5 to wood, go dock, everything else on food, and you're clicking up 20 villages and with loom. And then once you've got your dock out, you also get 3 fishing ships. That's as basic as it gets. Now, you can adjust that and tweak that depending on what civ you've got. Also, when you're on hunt, you can subtract 1 villager, so you could just go 5 on food, 5 to wood, get the dock out a little bit quicker. Those are the sorts of things that you can mess around with and learn. And of course, you can go up a little bit quicker than 20 vils if you so desire. You can maybe get away without docking and fishing early. Probably not recommended long term. It's certainly off meta if you go down that path. But given you've got 3 boars, maybe that will lead to some faster rushes. You go up pretty quickly with, say, a Mongols. And you can really, really put some pressure on quickly with a fast scout rush. But not recommended. It is best to go with the dock and get some fishing ships out. Now, walling to the edge. This map, largely speaking, I think is pretty easy to wall. I think you don't have to drop a lot of tiles. You're naturally dropping a lot of buildings. You've got wood lines that are small, yes, but your area to wall is quite small. Important thing to note is that there are shallows to the edge of the map, and that means where you wall to the edge of the landmass, you have to be very particular. You don't want to end your wall on this tile, for example, because there are shallows. You would want to end your wall, I think that would be okay. So you could probably end your wall on this tile as you wall across there. Got to be very particular with where you wall, because sometimes you might not actually wall your opponent out. So that is a very important thing to note. But otherwise, I think map is quite easy to wall. And that will certainly mean that feudal play is most likely going to be played on water. Again, this depends on if the two players are playing meta, and depending on how much of a rush you're going for on land. One player goes hard on land, the other one probably has to match. Now, as we go to the late game, or mid game, sorry, the mid to late game, we start seeing the potential for land, and you want to expand, you want to win on land. Now, I think pushing on cav is not that easy on this map. I have experienced it on both ends, where once I've been pushing and the other time I've been the one that's being pushed. And I find that if you're able to get your town centers down, really, cavalry is not the way. You can get some small walls up, you can get your town centers out. It's actually not too easy to push in general, from my experience. So I think this map best suited to archer play, and infantry play, of course. And I think we're going to see that when I go through some of my favorite civs on this map. So I think once you're able to settle down, get to castle age, I think a boom and then looking for archers and siege or infantry and siege is the way you would want to play on land. The other thing that I briefly alluded to at the start, we have got 5 relics in the middle, and they are protected by a ring of reeds. Now, I have a pine tree mod on, but these are reeds, 50 wood only. I believe a villager with wheelbarrow will carry 13 wood. So I believe you only need 4 villagers, but feel free to test that one out in advance. I believe it's only 4 villagers once you've got wheelbarrow, and definitely once you've got handcart. So go forward, cut the reed, jump in with your monks, have your monks ready to go. Don't cut until you've got your monks ready, and then go in, grab those relics and get out of there. Now you do have a lot of crocs around here. You could probably just use your army just to get rid of those. This is shallows as well. There are parts that you can't wall over. You can't walk over, sorry, but there are certainly entrance points. Let me grab my scout and I'll show what we're talking about here. So you just want to make sure you clear up the crocs. And yeah, you can get in. Make sure you cut the right tree. So obviously cutting that tree is not going to work. So let's see what we've got here. So you can see, definitely walk on there and can walk to the middle there. But if we want to walk off, so we can see here, can't actually exit anywhere around there. So there's no exit path there. Have to exit in this spot. So there'll be a few designated points where you can get on and out, in and out of this ring in the middle. So keep an eye on that. You could potentially drop a dock or two on this middle patch of water in the mid game. I've had it against me when an opponent was Vikings and they went for longboats in the middle. It depends on where you're playing, right? It's probably not super recommended, but as we'll get to my last point about this map, as you get to the late game, do not forget your siege ships. So if you have got access of the middle, having a dock and some siege ships will range a lot. They help out. You want to get your tread production out once you hit imp? Well, early chemistry onto some cannon galleons, or if you're a civ that just gets lutrons or drummonds, you don't even need chemistry. Straight into siege production. This just helps with that. A little bit more production, right? The outsides as well. If your opponent is camping the outsides, you can get a siege ship out and start getting rid of some buildings there. There's also the potential in the mid game as well. If you've won water, don't forget you can add some fishing ships, dock around the sides. And some galleys also have some potential too when there are some minerals that find themselves close. That's berries. You got some gold close to the edge of the land. So you can just 1 or 2 galleys. The same way you would go with 1 or 2 archers, but 1 or 2 galleys forward. And you're just denying a gold. Very small investment for what can be a very, very big payoff. So highly, highly recommend that as well. Just another thing to consider when you are on this map. I think overall this is a hard map to play just because of its options that you can go for and the way and the things that you've got to think about. But once you understand that the start is just a little bit different to your generic starts and your generic hybrid map starts with the way the boars spawn, I think you can set up for a pretty nice game and some games with some good aggression as well. So worth considering about. Before we end, just wanted to have a look at what I consider to be some of the notable civs when it comes to this map. You can see them on screen at the moment. They are the ones that are starred. So we have the Byzantines, Dravidians, Franks, Italians, Japanese, Jurchens, Koreans, Maya, Mongols, Portuguese, Shu, and Wu. There are many viable civs on this map. Hybrid civs are obviously good, but I wanted to point out these ones. I believe that because of the close spawns, that being able to play infantry is good, and that is where Dravidians and Japanese come into play, and Wu. I think because of the easy walling nature and easy nature to hold off cavalry, that archer units are important, and that's where playing Italians and Koreans, Portuguese, Shu, Maya have got their bonuses. Of course, there is the res distribution, and therefore we see like Mongols and Jurchens because of the 3 boars. The extra forage bushes, so Franks and Portuguese are really nice. And we've also got the lumber camp situations when it comes to the Japanese, and of course the fishing ships, which are great for the Japanese and the Dravidians. And of course the last part of this is relating to siege. The Jurchens and the Shu have really nice siege, and so do the Koreans, of course, as well. So there's that little rundown regarding some of the civs that I think have got some nice little bonuses there. If I had to pick one civilization for this map, I would say the number 1 civ is the Japanese, because I look at these 4 bonuses here and I think we see cheaper camps, which are great for the early game. Get infantry attacking faster, which is great. You can follow up with some man-at-arms on top of a hybrid build. You've got cav archers in the mid game, which get extra attack against other archers. You've got fishing ships, which work super fast, and that is another great bonus because you want to be fishing. And you could also play your Sama towers as well, because you've got plenty of stone to go with, and of course Kataparuto is nice on every map. So there's my rundown of Paradise Island. I hope you enjoyed that little get to know the map, and I really hope that it means that when you get put on Paradise Island in your ranked games, that you don't dodge, you don't Alt F4. You've now got a little preview into the map, and you go ahead and you play it, and best of luck.